All right, let me.
Is that my final comment?
Okay.
Hey, you know, I need some support for next year.
All right, guys, we're gonna start up. Is everybody signed in?
Oh.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to this meeting tonight. It is a Northwest Austin Council sponsored meeting, but we are introducing many people tonight. And we're going to do a brief introduction. Before we do the brief introduction, we're going to ask the pastor to give us a brief prayer.
Yes.
Pastor.
Let us pray. God of heaven, we come tonight simply to say thank you. God, we thank you for allowing us to get up this morning with our minds intact, with our bodies doing well. And we thank you, God, for this moment of meeting on tonight. We pray that as we gathered in this place that you would put all minds on one accord, that we could come together, God, and be a powerful influence in our community. We thank you for the leadership on tonight. We thank you for those that are present, and we thank you for those that are yet on their way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. So we're going to do a brief introduction. We're going to start in the front here. I'm Steve Robinson, Executive Director of Northwest Austin Council. And to my right.
We gotta call our meeting to order. So how you want to do it? You want to do?
Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
You want to introduce folks in the room? Or
Yeah. Why not? Why not? We're going to go around the room. Absolutely. To my left, we'll start from my left.
Isaiah Brooks, the Community Outreach Coordinator that supports the district council.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Donnell Shields. I'm the Executive Director of an organization called Austin Come Together, and here to present an exciting project called the Inspire Center for Workforce Innovation.
All right.
Murray Williams, 5500 West Gladys Block Club President.
Go that way. Go ahead. That's fine.
James Baker, 5300 Washington County, Berkeley.
All right.
James R. Shannon, Community Organizer.
Eric Sawyer, my wife Belinda Sawyer. We're residents in the 5300 on Gladys.
I'm Zoe Taki. I'm a reporter for Austin Weekly.
Donald Shad, Lockwood Evangeline, 50-year friend of Arnold's. If anybody wanna reach me, just get in touch with Arnold, call me. Tell my age.
None just that. How does he stay friends with you?
Friend too. He said that's strong.
Hey, Steve, my question is, how does he stay friends with him for 50 years? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cassandra Norman with 5200 on Gladys with South Austin Neighborhood Association.
I am Pastor LaJuan Whitfield, pastor here at New Life Holiness Church.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Daniels. I am the Block Club President for the Adams Block Club 5500.
Arnold Bearden, welcome to Gladys Street, 52 through 55. So we in the house. Thank you for coming out.
Absolutely. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and let the 15th District, 15th Police District Councilors go ahead and proceed with
Call meeting to
their meeting.
Okay, thank you for coming. I'm glad this is a collaborative meeting. In order for us to be compliant, we must create the quorum. Carmelita Earl is Chair of 15th District Council.
I'm Rayla Karen Winters. I'm the nominator for the 15th District Council, and I live at 5071 West Jackson Boulevard.
DeAndre Rudis, Community Engagement for the 15th Police District Council. I'm at 1000 Block of Austin.
And I'm at Long in Washington, so we have a quorum and we can begin.
All right. You guys can continue.
So the first thing that we have to do is go over meeting minutes from our last minutes to accept our meeting from, we stayed them in our last couple meetings, September's and October, so we will go ahead and approve those meeting minutes first before we move on to the rest of the agenda.
Okay, well, starting with September 19, 2024, we held a meeting at Hope Excel, which is 4821 West Chicago Avenue from meeting started at 6:14. The public comment basically talked about the lack of respect for parking restrictions. Their block had residential parking permits, but people still parked their cars. So they asked who could they call. NAACP as well had a mediation program for the community meetings who had a disagreement about hard times getting participants. So at that particular meeting, we also tabled the minutes that I'm reading right now. So the district council gave updates. That particular update was explaining the roles of our community engagement and nominating committee, as well as co-councilperson expressed the CPD posts their policies, and the community members are able to post public comments. Our newsletter, which our community engager officer, Brother Rudis, has taken on and is responsible. It's resourceful for you to catch up on any meetings that we had prior to today. And Gun Education Awareness, September 27th was announced, and the circle for circle keepers is every first Tuesday from 6 to 8. Those are the September meetings. Are there any corrections for that meeting?
I move to accept September 19th meeting minutes as read.
I second.
It has been motioned and second, so we will approve the meeting as read, the minutes as read. October 10th meeting minutes are as follows. It was held at the WYMCA at 501 North Central. The public comment, we had a resident who was concerned about a young man who was shot while cutting grass. The victim was taken to the hospital but later died. A young child was present in the back seat of that car, and gunfire repeatedly came from that vehicle. Questions were raised about whether the shooter was apprehended. 15th District this information was forwarded to 15th District, and hopefully the residents got the information back. We also talked about the Democratic National Convention, that we want the same type of resources in our community as what was meted out during that particular session. They also later found a 17-year-old on the street 45 minutes after he was shot. That's as a result of the disbanding and of ShotSpotter. A discussion of the importance meetings with public officials about accountability for public safety. They said they need to have that particular meeting as well. And then there were also an emphasis on community engagement and utilizing voting power to influence change. So you guys have the power to do so. Further, a motion was put on the table to September to defer until this meeting. That Council Rudis made that particular motion, and Winters basically approved it. So at this particular time, the updates were we're gonna have a gratitude dinner. That's something we're gonna talk about a little later. And there had also been a conversation with the city attorneys about trying to get the Dexter Reed case dismissed. That's the young man who was shot at Ferdinand and Hamlin back in March. We also have a community commission seat to be filled. Candidates must be an attorney. They're looking for one on the west side. Anyone interested, by all means, let us know. Once again, the newsletter is distributed monthly. There's a QR code on it. I believe Brother DeAndre Rodas has one. You can opt into that on tonight to stay basically connected, and you may also remain anonymous if you so choose. The discussions were quite plentiful. I'll basically go through them quickly. A total police budget is $1.6 billion with a B. 80 to 85% is for salaries, 15% equipment, vehicles, and other crime eradication incentives. Concern over the high percentage allocated to salaries versus direct public safety was what we discussed. An impact of gentrification in our neighborhoods, linked to reduced crime rates to the financial infusion into our communities. Debate on whether monetary investments are sufficient to remedy these community issues, as well as, for example, Workforce Development Center, which is located soon to be on Central and Madison. That's why you'll hear from them a little later. Building has been empty for 10 years with limited community engagement, lack of curiosity, and psychological barriers preventing the community and you and us as members to utilize whatever resources has been funded by your tax dollars. Psychological barriers are emphasized on the need for the development within our community to foster that engagement and utilization of these resources. And the roles of the district councils were also discussed, serves as your voice. We take your concerns to a different element, a different venue, and speak what you want us to talk about. Compile the communication issues to the city commission. Influence the creation and implementation of policies, general orders by the Chicago Police Department. And lastly, organization awards, Black Women in Solidarity was talked about last month, last month. It offers different programs such as What's the Business, in which they teach women how to run a successful business. They also have a program for journaling. This is to teach young people to write their feelings down. That being stated, this is the October 10th meeting, quite lengthy. May I have a motion to accept?
I move to accept the October 10th meeting minutes as read.
It has been motioned by Councilor Rudis, as well as seconded by Councilor Winters. The October 10th minutes will be accepted as read without correction. Therefore, we go back to Councilor Rudis, and he will take it from here.
All right, so to continue with our agenda, we should have public comment in this section, but we are waiting on the officer to be able to have that comment section, to have public comment with us as well as discussion. So we will move to our district council member updates. So we'll start with Councilor Winters.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am, again, District Council, Araywa Karen Winters. So we always try to tell a little bit about who we are and what we do, even though we're a little over a year now. It's still like, it's a very new elected official position, and we're still trying to, make community members abreast of who we are and what we do. But we are district councils for the 15th police district. Each of the 22 police districts across the city have 3 community members serve on the district council. Carmelita Earls is our chairperson, so she handles a lot of our administrative things. DeAndre Rudis is our community organizer. He is the one that makes sure we have venues, speakers, and he does most of our outreach for us. He also facilitates our restorative justice circles and a million other things. And I am the nominator, and so my role, one of my roles is that we were supposed to interview and select the members who are now sitting on our community commission. So right now we have 6 commissioners, so how I like to describe the commissioners is they're more internal, so they do more work along with the city. They are responsible for, they can work on policies, police policies. They can look at CPD's budget. They can give a vote of no confidence to the superintendent. They can also terminate the chief of COPA as well as the president of the Chicago Police Board. That's their roles, and our roles is more along with engaging with community members, trying to find out ways to build relationships between community members and our police department, and a myriad of lots of other things. And we're still trying to figure most of it out. And speaking of the commissioner, we did have, so the 7 commissioners, you have 2 commissioners on the west side, 2 commissioners on the south side, 2 commissioners on the north side, and then 1 commissioner is what they consider citywide. You have 2 youth commissioners, 2 community activist organizers, and 2 attorneys. And one of the attorneys was also a west side seat, and she recently resigned. I think her term ended last month. And so on tomorrow, we will be interviewing 3 other attorneys from the west side, and I hope to give those names to Mayor Johnson to fill that west side seat. So that is one thing. Last month, we were supposed to have a gratitude dinner as our way of expressing appreciation for folks who have been coming out and supporting us. But I unfortunately, I lost my mom, and so we weren't able to do the gratitude dinner. So next month for our December meeting, which will be on Thursday, December 12th, we're gonna power through our meeting, and then we're gonna have a holiday celebration. We'll be at Sankofa Cultural Arts Center on Chicago Avenue, from 5 to 9 o'clock. But we'll get that information. Now, if you signed our sign-in sheet, we'll make sure to get that information to you. And I talked about the DC nominators. The next thing I want to share, I don't have any flyers for this, but I do have one. And if you have your phone, you can take a QR code. There's a new program that's coming out called the Community Safety Coordination Center, and they're doing something called Austin Community Action Network. And they will have their next meeting on December 3rd at 6 p.m. at Urban Essentials Cafe, and then another meeting on December 17th at 6 p.m. at Urban Essentials Cafe. The Community Safety Coordination Center, in partnership with community organizations and other partners, hosts this community activation network, where they be having conversations to talk about violence and how to address and place-based issues driving violence. So it says that the Community Safety Coordination Center, they're investing in violence prevention, street outreach, mental health, workforce development, and young people. I encourage you all to attend those meetings and find out what everybody is doing, because there's a lot of money floating around this city for people to be in our communities doing this, that, and the other, and we seeing little impact of their work. But they're new also, so I won't blame them for that. And then the other thing is, next month, December 10th, and I do have flyers for this, the district counselors will work in collaboration with Bill to have a conversation around community engagement on police reform. I don't know if you all have been keeping up about all the conversations around the consent decree. Just like this district council positions that we have, it's the first time in the country that this has happened. Just like the Chicago consent decree, it's not the first time. Other cities have had consent decrees, but Chicago was the first. It was historic because it was the first one where community members were engaged in it, and I'm also a part of that. And so right now we have Mayor Johnson trying to cut funding around the consent decree when it was never fully staffed. And so I think now, after 5 years, they're only at 9% compliance, and so that is a major issue. Because a lot of that work is around police misconduct, excessive uses of force, around racial, incidents that happen with policing, and we know most of these take place in Black and brown communities. And so this meeting will be held at Bill's on December 10th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., which is billed as at 5100 West Harrison. So it says this is an initiative, again, another thing that they're doing in the community that money is going into, and we're going to see some results. This is an initiative to gain insight from the community on their perspectives of CPD that will be utilized to promote reform. Your responses will be kept anonymous, and dinner will be provided. And so before you all leave tonight, I will have those flyers for you. And one more thing, I'm also, during my day life, I am a community organizer with Austin Coming Together. And on December 6th, we'll be having a very Austin Christmas in the 600 block of Laurel. So the Laurel Block Club invites you out, join some photos of Santa, live reindeer, hot chocolate treats, and holiday festivities. And I also have some of those flyers for you as well before you leave this evening. And I think that is all of my announcements.
So,
Updates.
all right, cool. All right, so once again, I'm Dr. DeAndre Rudis with the 15th Police District Council. I am the Community Engagement Specialist. Essentially, I'm the facilitator of conversation, if you will, between our community and Chicago Police Department. Also, if there's the need to bring us together in a space, I'm usually the one that leads those efforts, as well as I'm trying to lead the efforts in terms of the informing and educating our community about their rights in policing and any other facet in terms of accountability. So with that said, the things that I do is, so this newsletter in front of you, I record these following each of our meetings. Generally, it'll have some sort of information. As you can see, the CCPSA side here has updates coming directly from the city. Typically, it'll have some note of what the conversation contained. We also talk about the different organizations. So in our meetings, we really like to uplift the smaller organizations. So this is where you can find more information out about them and the work that they do. Additionally, we have our meetings recorded. You can find them all on YouTube. At the end of this CCPSA piece here, you'll find a little link that you can type in. It'll take you directly to the playlist that contains all of our meetings. I think we just missed one so far in terms of being able to record them. Otherwise, those are there. I have 2 COPA issues pending, and I'm still waiting on updates for those. So COPA is our Civilian Office for Police Accountability. Anytime there are any issues in terms of accountability, whether that's with treatment, brutality, abuse of any kind, toward the community from the Chicago Police, if you report it to one of us, our role is to be essentially the go-between, so to connect you with COPA. COPA then investigates that issue. Typically, these interviews can take some time depending on the amount of people that were involved, including officers. And so for these particular instances, they had already told me they were going to be about 6 months. So we're still waiting on updates for those. As those come in, I'll keep you abreast of them. The other thing that I am attempting to do, we still have not gotten to this, but I would like to do listening tours where you all, if you have concerns, comments, questions, anything that you would like for us to be able to discuss in private. Most times we have police at our meetings. They will be here tonight to hear your concerns as well, but some folks don't want to do that in an open setting. So we, myself, my colleagues are available for a listening tour where you can bring us directly to your block if you'd like. Still trying to get those going. Haven't done one yet, but it's I always gonna mention it because it's available. The other thing that I like to do is host these quarterly Know Your Rights. That is where we inform the community on different aspects of the law, especially as it pertains to policing. So the next one, it's some time away, but if you consider coming, it is in February, and we're gonna focus on police decertification. So there's a lot of instances where police probably should rightfully so be let go from the force, but they typically go to another jurisdiction. And so with police decertification, that keeps them from doing that, especially when they cause harm to the community. So we want to be able to inform you all what that may look like, what's the process for that, and what's the movement that's ongoing for that. So that'll be in February, again, sometime from now, but we make sure that we have these quarterly Know Your Rights to keep you abreast of the law. The other thing is we like to have annual events. So you missed our 911 event, which was an emergency response. We taught folks how to treat gunshot wounds and bleed outs. The next one we're gonna have to coincide with non-emergency response is gonna be on March 11th, and that's gonna be mental health first aid. So we wanna make sure that folks understand the symptoms of mental health and can be able to assist wherever they can. And the last piece I'll mention is that I do keep all information in a Google Drive that's accessible by anybody if you'd like. What's in that Google Drive is these newsletters. I think I might be able to put a link towards these videos. It also contains any issues that come up during our meetings. So we've had trespass affidavits being called out. We've had noise complaints being called out. And any other issues that arise that there is an ordinance or some sort of legislation for already, we find that and we put that in there so that folks know where to go for that information. So I house that as well, and that is the end of my updates.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming again. I noticed that there's like 18 people. I think one just came in, 19. 19 people total in this particular room. And I'm a woman of faith, so that I was told that if one can put 1,000 to flight, then 19 should be able to put quite a large amount to flight. I was a part of a meeting the other day where some community residents were concerned about a building that was illegally modified because of funding that's being filtered through our communities. A regular residence that you're used to seeing is now someone that may be challenged, which everyone deserves another opportunity, but not at the expense of your safety. So our job is public safety and police accountability. So I just want to read something to you to just provoke your thought. If you are in leadership, please don't put your focus on serving. Please put your focus on serving and fulfilling your assignment. Never misuse your title to assert authority. If you feel the need to throw your title around, you really aren't leading anyone. You're just traveling without a purpose. So give us a purpose. We're here, you've elected us to do a job. And the interesting part about it is we're here because we're passionate about the work. My heart is in a little trouble because of a lot of things that's going on, and I'll keep that out of this particular meeting. But what concerns me is how docile some of us are. We're not proactive, we're reactive. And we wait for something catastrophic to happen, and then we have so much to say. This is your opportunity to tell us what you need us to know. I believe there's cards going around. If you have any questions and you want to be anonymous, by all means, let's put it on the table. Make us talk about what concerns you. We don't know, but we're willing to do so. And I will yield the rest of my time because I know we have a presentation.
Thank you. You know what? Last two things that I neglected to mention. As Arewa talked about, at the top of each of these newsletters, there are QR codes. One is a public safety survey. So this is kept, again, in-house. We really wanted to just track how we were doing over time. This is a 4-year term that we're going to serve. So we had this QR code in place since we've started. Please take it. Tell us how policing has been for you at any time. And our goal is to see that this actually rises by the end of our shift, if you will. And then the other thing we have is it was Counselor Earls that mentioned it. And then the other thing that we have is a contact card here, QR code, and this goes directly to myself. Again, if you want to remain anonymous and have comments, concerns, questions, or anything else like that, you can reach out. Same thing, we also put these on the back of our trifolds too. So all of this stuff is here. That's the last thing I wanted to say with that. And now, moving on with the agenda here, the next thing we'd like to do is bring up our organizational representative. We always highlight an organization, and this meeting we're going to highlight ACT because in our last meeting, folks were wondering what was going on Central and Madison, at the old Emmett. And we thought it was important to bring the folks that's actually making it happen to tell you all what's going on, because we do think it's going to be a help with the crime that we're actually facing. So with that, I'll bring up Darnell so he can talk a little bit about the Aspire Center for Workforce Innovation. Thank you.
And folks may already know about ACT, but I don't know if you want to drop a little bit about that as well.
You know what? I will never miss the opportunity to share.
Yes, sir.
Make sure I can sit these out. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Forgive me, I had to set out some of the material because I want to reference that as I'm doing this presentation. That these are some takeaways that I'm hoping that you all will take with you after I get done, so that we can continue a dialogue after this presentation and beyond this meeting. So, as Dr. Rudy shared, I'm the executive director of Austin Coming Together. Austin Coming Together is a collective impact agency. We're a grassroots, community-based organization that was started here in 2010, here in Austin by a number of different community leaders that really desire to be able to work more closely together in collaboration with one another and figure out a way to how they can operationalize their collaboration. So we're an entity that was created to really further a lot of the work that a lot of the groups that NAC is here and others that were a part of bringing that about, because they felt like they would be stronger together if there was a way to be able to concentrate all of their efforts under sort of one umbrella. So we are their representatives. Also, just want to share a little bit background about myself. So I'm a lifelong Austin resident. Actually, Steve and I were neighbors. But I actually grew up right down the street on the next block, 5500 block of Gladys. So this is interesting. It's actually the first time I've been in this church, even though I grew up right down the street. I actually spent more time going towards fix this. I actually spent more time going towards the Columbus Park because it was more attractive to go in that direction for me back then when you look for things to do. And if you guys grew up in Austin and know about the community, if you were on that end, you didn't too much go on the western end, crossing Laramie and things like that. But I just wanted to share a little bit more about that. Also, our organization, something that we've been a part of for a number of years, that really was the synthesis of a lot of the collaboration with different organizations and leaders in the community. We helped the community steward its first quality of life plan. And it's called Austin Forward Together. It was published in 2018. We launched into implementation in 2019. It had a 5-year scope. And we recently, last year, celebrated doing implementation and facilitating that with so many different groups, more than 100 organizations that have been a part of that, community residents and so forth that brought that plan about. And from that, we've seen a lot of changes in investment and participation and partnership in our community as a result. And one of the things that has come about is this awesome project that I'm going to tell you more about called the Aspire Center for Workforce Innovation. So what I want to do this evening is give you guys a overview about the project and talk to you a bit more about kind of how it came to be in terms of its origin. Some things you guys be familiar with in terms of like the school closings, and that is Robert Emmett Elementary School that was closed, but also sort of the movement that took place through the Quality of Life Plan that actually created an opportunity for the community to take and reclaim this asset and turn it into something that they felt like would be productive and not something that would take away the benefit for them. And then also talk about like the investment that it entailed, as well as what some of the progress has been as we've been working on this project for the last 7 years. So as I was saying, this project is a repurposing of a closed CPS school, mainly one of the 4 that was closed here in Austin. Robert Emmett sits on 3.5 acres of land. It's about a 60,000 square foot building, right? This is sort of the new state of what it looks like. If you've driven past Central and Madison, I think you've seen it, and we try to stay true to form to some of the design. You guys know this was actually the back of the building, right? One of the plans was to reorientate the building to make it interplay more with the commercial corridor, because now that it is no longer a school and it has economic development purposes, it makes sense for it to be a part of catalyzing the commercial corridors of Central and Madison. And so I think it's really important to be here to present to you all, because one of the things we have to contend with now is thinking about where you have economic development taking place is where it intersects with public safety. Again, this center is set to be a top-notch workforce training center, and it's coming online next year, the spring of next year. So this has been a 7-year journey to bring this project about, but we are right on the heels of it opening and forever transforming access to the things that we've long wanted in our community in terms of job training, helpful mobility. And this project has been co-developed by Austin Coming Together in partnership with Westside Health Authority. And Westside Health Authority, they're a community organizing organization. They've been here for more than 30 years, serving the community. Their CEO, Morris Reed, he wanted to be here this evening. He had an emergency, wasn't able to make it, but he'll definitely be available for questioning and things like that if there's a need to understand more about their role. They're also the owner of the site, and I'll talk more about that as we get into the presentation. So again, I said the key programming at this site One of the key elements that's bringing forth, I mentioned workforce training. So there's gonna be an advanced manufacturing training facility within this site. There was an auditorium, gym, performance stage space in there. If you guys been in the old CPS school, you remember where it was like that was the multi-purpose room, right? And so what we were able to do with that particular part of the building is actually repurpose it into something that you need very unique space for in terms of bringing in welding, CNC machining, robotics, and things like that. And so that part of the building has actually been renovated and remodeled to now house and give access to advanced manufacturing training that can lead individuals into different industries that are high demand, that are paying and high paying living wage jobs. Also, there's going to be organizations providing recruitment, intake, coordination, referrals for workforce advancement, supportive services, as well as financial literacy, counseling, and training on the site as well, and access to small business development support. Now, this is actually going to be, I'll cut this thing here. I want to make sure you can see that.
No, it's cut off on the slide.
Oh, it's cut off on the slide. That's not good. Okay. Let me see if I
There you go.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Everybody can see that? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. As I was saying, there are 4 anchor tenants in the building currently. Austin Coming Together, Westside Health Authority, Jane Addams Resource Corporation, and BMO Bank. So as I was mentioning, we are currently located at 5049 West Harrison. We're actually going to be expanding our efforts in terms of our community hub effort that we work with community residents and organizations around connecting to different resources in terms of their programs that they provide. We're going to be moving that operation there to that site along with our planning and investment team for quality of life planning with community leaders. Westside Health Authority, they're actually moving their executive offices there, and their workforce development center will actually be on site. And then Jane Addams Resource Corporation, they're a national advanced manufacturing training organization that will actually be moving their headquarters from Ravenswood, which is up north, to this particular site. And one of the reasons for that I want to mention is because we discovered that they were training more West Side residents than they were training with any other part of the city. When we visited with that organization, we looked at their participant list, a lot of them had zip codes coming from 60644, 60639, 60651, right? We all know those are Austin zip codes. And so with that, that means people were actually going an hour north to be able to get access to the training so that they could get the skills that they need to be able to compete for the jobs that are literally locally within their area. Because if you know Austin, you know we're surrounded by 3 manufacturing districts on our different borders, south, north, and east. BMO, they were actually an investor in this project back in 2019 through the Invest Southwest project. And their intention was really to be able to partner with this community to increase our access to, man, my computer's not participating, but we're gonna get it. Okay, there we go. And they will be there to actually set up a bank branch on the site as well. So some of the things that I want to give you a little bit more about the origin of this effort. As I mentioned, the Austin Forward Together Quality of Life Plan, it started up in 2019. It actually started up right around the time that this particular project or this building was really becoming under the radar to be sought after, to be repurposed into something that was potentially not what this site is right now. But during that time, it became a part of the Quality of Life Plan because community members really felt the need that they wanted to lead the conceptualization of what this building could become. And so they used that platform to be able to actually reimagine what that space could be and how it could serve the community. And that became a part of this effort called the Aspire Initiative, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And thus, that led to the Aspire Center for Workforce Innovation, which is a project. And as I said, Westside Health Authority, they own the building. Back in 2018, when this project or this school building was being sought after by others from outside of the community to be able to purchase, the community rose up and said that, hey, they wanted this building to be for our community, owned by our community, and for our community. And through that purpose, Westside Health Authority, they were actually able to go through the proper channels with CPS and purchase the building. But after they did it, they said, hey, we didn't necessarily have a plan for this site. We just wanted to make sure that we responded to the community's call, that it needed to fall into the hands of the community and not be sought after where others could plan something for us instead of with us. And so they actually committed it to the quality of life planning process. At that time, we were stewarding that process with community. People actually got an opportunity to work with urban planners, architects, all these different planning and technical professionals on being able to actually reimagine what this site could be. And again, it came under the Aspire Initiative for redevelopment, and that is how we entered into a partnership to be able to co-develop this building. Because again, when you start to think about, okay, we want to develop this building, where are we going to get the money from? How are we going to raise the funding for it? And so that really prompted our partnership, because nobody else will come and develop this site. So we believe that, hey, as a community, we have to do it. And part of the Aspire Initiative was really this ideal that we could create a vehicle that could now attract the investment that we needed in the built environment of our community, right? Based on this ideal that the community said, we need a cradle to career pipeline, right? We need resources for our community from a child as early as going to Head Start on up until a senior aging in place in their home in Austin, right? And a lot of it was predicated on having access to resources like education, health, housing, and economic development. Not a chicken and egg situation where you have access to these things one or other at a time, but simultaneously, right? It's needed in order for a person to thrive at every stage of their life. And this initiative really had a central goal of making sure that Austin would be sustainable, that can empower its residents to lead healthy and prosperous lives, right? Recognizing that if we had access to all of these things at once, now you could start to really experience transformation in individuals' quality of life in our community. And this was our theory of change around that, where we're looking at changing the perception of a concentrated area in Austin so that it can act as a catalyst, or sort of ripple effect to grow our community, because we know Austin is massively big, right? And trying to take it all on at once, it can be very difficult. And so we try to deal with the heart of the community, the center of the community, where we had experienced the most blight, and we had the greatest representation of assets in terms of schools, parks, intersection with commercial corridors, vacant land, and other things. And then also looking at how do we increase the collective power of our residents, right, around being able to facilitate more of this public and private investment in our community, because this is just one project, but could this project help catalyze the movement of us taking all of it back if we model something that we actually did and did it successfully? And then looking at the capacity of our residents that could take part in gaining access from those resources within centers like these that now increase their their potential to be able to own and purchase residential and commercial property in our community. And that rationale really centered around, again, as I was saying, this spectrum of gaining access to the resources you need at kindergarten on into aging in place. And it really was coming across and embodied in these 4 projects, where the Aspire Center Education and Wellness Campus, which is a project that is focused on early childhood development and health and wellness, Aspire ACCA, which is the reimagining of Austin High School, so that you get access to quality high school in this community, as well as the Aspire Center for Workforce Innovation that lend to income support and helping individuals gain access to upward mobility through training, and then Aspire Housing, where you can gain access to the quality living experience every stage of your life. And that really laid the foundation for us to pursue and go forward. Where it led is that we had to start with one of the projects to really get it off the ground and to start to mobilize a fundraising capability. I just want to acknowledge North Reed, you made it in the building. And laying the foundation for the Aspire Center really comes down to two things. The Aspire Center, it's a physical place, it's a physical building. If you drove down Central Madison, you can't miss it, right? That was intentional because it's not just meant to have access to a lot of the great things that you can find within it, but it's also meant to catalyze growth on the outside in the area that it is located in as well. But it's also a new organization because we had to form a joint venture in order to be able to manage and run the center on beyond the organizations that we already run. And the other dynamics at play is we had to look at, like, who is this center going to serve, right? What is the place-based community impact that it can have, and how can it be a location catalyst to drive change from Madison on into Chicago Avenue, on into Laramie, on into Central. And so here you can see these are different areas that we look at in terms of who we serve. It's really focused on employment, like the unemployed, the underemployed, the fully employed, industry employers as well, right? We have to build partnerships with them. Youth, 15 to 18, startup businesses, and even our community organizers and leaders, because I'll show you later, there's space within this building to be able to host meetings like this, right? So we need more space for individuals and our community leaders to be able to meet and congregate so that we can plan more things that we need to be able to do, right? So it's very exciting to know that we have a building that will give us access to all those things. There we go. Every so often do that just to check, make sure y'all are awake. The other thing I want to share too is we also looked at very intentionally, how's this building going to operate? With all of these partners in the building, with the opportunity to get access to all these different resources. And so we've been very intentional working together with a myriad of different partners around making sure that we can have linkages within this building to share this facility in a way that enhances a participant's experience when they come in, to be able to move past whatever barrier they might find themselves in, whether it's financial literacy, gaining access to training for employment, or maybe it's just coming in because, hey, I need a bus card, I need transportation so I can get to an opportunity. Or maybe it's a budding entrepreneur that needs to gain access to some resources for a small business opportunity. And we were very focused on this comprehensive scope of services that we believe can be fulfilled through these anchor tenants and our larger partner network that exists in the Austin community, because we feel that this building can provide on-site access to various organizations that have resources, but it also can be a host for other organizations to leverage to bring other types of resources that may not necessarily be in the building consistently. And here's some of the building details. So as I mentioned, it was a 60,000 square foot building. We actually built a addition onto what was the backside on the front. And that added another 15,000 to 18,000 square feet. So now it's about an 83,000 square foot building. It has 3 floors. Our first phase of the project really developed the exterior area. Here you see the plaza, which was previously the old parking lot, the old playground. It's now a community plaza and parking here. And then on the first floor is where you have a number of different organizations. So on the green, you have Austin Come Together, space for the different programming that I mentioned. Here in blue is where you will find Bank Branch. This is the lobby area where there's a lot of open space, common space, reservable space to be able to do meetings as well. There's also in the pink, this is where the Jane Addams Resource Corporation Advanced Manufacturing Facility will be. And then on the second floor, you also find Westside Health Authority here in gray with those services that they will provide. Westside Health Authority also has just recently formed some partnerships to bring legal services to this site for making that accessible for community residents as well, in the form of partnerships with the Cook County Public Defender's Office as well as Legal Aid Chicago. And there's also a outdoor roof terrace on the second floor as well that will be open to the public to be able to, get on a Zoom call or sit out and get some sun while you're having a meeting or a phone call conversation. This is a rendering of what the interior lobby looks like ultimately when it's completed. And it's very, very close to looking this way currently right now as we're nearing the end of our base building construction. And that's another view. You see here's the reception area when you come in through the front door, where you can be greeted and now get directly onto wherever you need to go within the building for services or to book a room. Here's on the second level where I mentioned about those reservable room spaces. If you gotta have a meeting or a Zoom call, what have you, with folks virtually or on site. It's also sort of cafe seating around here. If you just want to pop in and use the free Wi-Fi to be able to, finish out on something. Maybe you just want to change the scenery from home because you've been sitting in the office all day and stretch your legs. And this is just some of the interior office space of the tenant spaces that will be in there as well, just to give a sense of what that can look like. Now, I mentioned about investment. This project took a very collaborative effort to be able to bring about the resources that we needed to create a center that could really live up to the expectation of what our community deserves, what we're valuable for, and what we need to be able to change the lives of those that are seeking to have an improved quality of life in a different state. And it was very complex in terms of the funding. Cost about a little bit over $40 million to redevelop this site, and it was a combination of city and state funds that massed up to 22 million, a little bit over 22 million. New market tax credit, equity in terms of a little bit over 10 million, and private philanthropy that we did. So a huge fundraising effort to do that, and that's not something that Morris and I would have been able to do alone. It took working with our community, working with all of the technical assistance partners, the AFT or Austin Forward Together leaders, all of their advocacy of community residents within this community, because this is something that they wanted to see come to pass, and also having support of our elected officials as well that had to back this also. And so I think it's important to really note that, earlier there was a mention about investments in our community, right, that's not serving us. But I think this could serve as a really great example of how when we're united and we have a plan and we speak with one voice, we can actually command the investment that we need to go towards the things that we know can invest and feed back into us to build us up. Because if our community is going to develop in terms of how it looks, right, and how the built environment is, we want the people to be built up as well so that they can participate in those great things. And some of the progress that we've had to date, as I mentioned, this center is going to open in the spring of 2025. We're actually nearing our base building end of construction here. We just got our certificate of occupancy from the city of Chicago. So all of that common space that I was sharing with you, by the end of the month, all of that will be complete and done. And now we'll be able to allow our tenants to come in and start to develop and build out their spaces so that they can start moving us towards getting ready to get open so that we can begin to start to serve this community rightfully through this space. And as I mentioned, this is an old school building. We built an addition onto it, and so it is a fusion of old and new construction. It's called adaptive reuse, right? Where we're taking an old structure and we're adapting it to new purpose. So you see remnants of some of what was once a school in the building when you come in there. You're gonna see some auditorium chairs that's been refinished that you can actually sit in and be reminded of that this was once in it. But you'll also see new glass doors on conference walls and things of that nature as well. We just thought it was a really great thing to preserve the history of this building as well as being able to position it where it can newly serve this community as well, to show that this is what the community can do when we come together. Also, local hiring. We were very intentional about our participation of community residents and minority and women contractors being a part of this project, because again, this is for us, by us. And we were very diligent about that. These are 3 Austin residents that were serving on the project for the duration of the project, and we're actually getting ready to move into another phase. And some of them are actually in the running to be able to move over to that. But we also had participation, met all of our quotas around, exceeded all of our quotas around MBE, MWBE on the project as well. And I gotta give a lot of credit to my partner, Morris Reed, CEO. They have a lot of experience in terms of construction with other developments that they've done. He was a staunch advocate for that. This is what the building, well, almost what the building looks like now. It's actually in an even more developed state than when we took this photo. But just to, again, give you a sense, this was the back of the building, and now it's giving way to this lobby space that we believe will be sought after space for folks to be able to leverage. That's that roof deck area that we talked about. There's plenty of parking on the site. It's about 96 parking spaces with about 5 handicap accessible spaces as well. So we anticipate this space being very functional to be able to serve our community for the different multi-purposes that we believe it'll be able to give way to. And this is just an instance of our sort of roadmap that we've had to take on all of the different work streams of work that we've had to do in order to not only build the center, right, and work with our community to develop that and all of our investors, and look at the grand opening in the different streams of work that we needed to do to mobilize the center for operations, where now we know, okay, what's reception gonna look like? What's security gonna look like? How we're gonna maintain the building? All of these different things that goes into bringing a center like this online and making it sustainable so that we can run it ourselves. So, I know that was a lot, but there's still more to come. The grand opening in spring 2025 that we know everybody's gonna be excited to be a part of, and we'll have a role in, and some upcoming engagements that we have. We have a community hard hat tours that will be coming in 2025. So even though we're still gonna have our tenants in the building, building out their spaces, we're gonna start to bring community in so that they can start to tour this building to really get up close and personal with what is going to be a huge service to them early, even before it opens. As well as we're gonna be looking for ambassadors to help champion the services and the recruitment and things like that that we're going to need to do to, again, ensure that everybody's taking advantage of this site and that this site is going to meet its goal and deliver on the promise as to why it was built. Also, we have a communications plan that we've worked on. That's going to be launched in January, and we're going to definitely be continuous around posting a lot of social media with different occurrences. Actually, just this morning, we had CBS News out. They were broadcasting to really promote that this center is coming online. really giving us some needed exposure because again, we're still fundraising for this effort and we have to continue to be diligent about getting the resources to finish developing it, as well as making sure that we've set the stage for dollars to keep operating it as well. And I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any, and thank you all for allowing me to be able to share with you this evening.
What's the operational hours? What will be the operational hours?
So currently, we're actually working through with our real estate space activation partner around what will be the optimal hours that we can have, because we want to make sure that this center is open and available during the hours that people need it to be there. And so we've been talking about just the common hours of like 9 to 7 in the evening. But again, we're trying to work through confirming that because there's a number of things that we got to consider in terms of staffing, in terms of security, and all of those things. But ultimately, we want to make sure that it's open and accessible during the hours that people need it to be.
Yeah, who's gonna be hired to work there? Is it gonna be people in the community, or how's the process?
Yeah, actually, so we've been diligent about having people in the community get hired to do the construction, but we're also going to be diligent about hiring folks for the different jobs that will be within the center. So as I mentioned, we have to maintain this site, right? There's a host of property management staff that'll be needed for this site. There's reception, there is 6 organizations that are also going to be in the site that will also be hiring. And so our goal is to be able to actually focus on doing hiring fairs, have it on our website where we have all of the hiring for each of these organizations made available for these job opportunities, so that community residents is the priority to be able to actually take part in it.
So you said that's gonna be on your website, but what about if some of the people in the community don't have access to your website? How will you get that information out to them that you are hiring?
Well, that's why I mentioned we would be doing hiring fairs on site.
But how will they get that information when you're gonna be doing that?
We look at doing good old fashioned door knocking.
Okay.
We're also organizers as well, and we're not scared to go out into our community and knock on people's doors and make sure they understand and know what's available to them.
Okay, and all of this is free to the community?
Free to the community.
No cost?
No cost.
For any services?
For any services. These are, the groups that I said that were providing services, these are all nonprofits with the exception of BMO Bank.
You were mentioning the job training and all those other things. We know we live in Austin community. We know some of the challenges that people have in our community. But you never mentioned if there's going to be opportunities for people with backgrounds.
Good point.
Because we know.
Good point.
I'm really glad you mentioned that.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And one of the things that was taken into consideration, and people ask like, hey, why didn't you have different types of industries for training available at this site? One of the reasons for that is because not all industries are easy for individuals that may have a justice background to get involved in. The things that we looked at as we were planning were really like, where were there industries where there were lower barriers to entry that also gave ample opportunity for an individual to gain access to a living wage career. It's one of the reasons why there's an advanced manufacturing training center, because that industry has low barriers to entry for individuals that may have justice background, right? Also, I said that Westside Health Authority, they will also be attending in the building. Westside Health Authority is one of the largest reentry centers in the city, and it's based here in Austin, but they're actually going to be moving that site, those programs, to this center. So we're actually looking for individuals that have the background, that are looking for that second chance to be able to get the resources they need so that they can move on to a productive situation.
Yep. Fahim?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, not to be disrespectful, rude, I just want to like get straight to it, which is, your language is very specific, related to business and related to other things that are going on. But my question is that outside of the people that are moving into the building, are we really going to be able to ensure that community has access, you know what I'm saying, not only to the property itself, but also, I mean, beyond the people just being, benefits to the people that are operating in the building? How do we really ensure that the community is going to benefit? Because we got multi-million-dollar facilities that went up with a promise, and our kids can't go visit. They have these very complex programs, they have these multi-million-dollar facilities, but you got to go through so many hoops, so much security, like you said, so much insurance that essentially the people that need the building never end up in it. So how do we ensure that that's not going to happen here?
All I can say to you is that, one, I'm not looking at what organizations or centers that you might be referring to. But I can speak about this center. This center was redeveloped by us. And I know we got centers in our community that have been redeveloped that are not by people that look like us. This is not one of them. As we were building this center, as we've been planning through this center, the whole focus and intention has been to serve our population, folks that live locally here that have challenges that they haven't been able to get resolved elsewhere, or even in some of these other places that are emerging within our community. And we've been very intentional about the planning with the different organizations that are also in there so that they develop this culture that this is who we're here to serve. And we're accountable to the community. As we've been doing this project, we've been very specific about bringing this effort to present to our community residents, to get their feedback on who are the populations, who do we need to partner with, so that we can ensure that the recruitment is actually reaching those that has those issues, right? And that's not something that we're going to stop. We're developing a community engagement plan that'll allow us to continue those efforts, so that just like I'm here tonight presenting on this to talk about what the opportunities might be, that's something that we want to continue to do, and we'll have staff that'll actually continue to do that so that we don't lose sight of that purpose, because that is the intention of this project. It's intended to be built by us, for us, to serve us.
FUBU.
And I'd just like to say too, the organizations that go in this building has a track record of serving community and being more inclusive than exclusive. I don't know those other organizations either, but we have 6 locations already in Austin, and we don't have that problem. Our doors are open. People use us whether it be for a computer lab, Wi-Fi, to see a case manager, to get warm, to just be engaged, just to inquire about what services are available. So Westside Health Authority and Austin coming together are already based in Austin. And we're not looking to change our culture that we've established over decades of providing services to Austin. So that won't change like Darnell talked about. So you don't have that worry with us. Those are usually for newer organizations who are starting something new. This is just us expanding on what we already have in the same culture that we're already doing within the smaller spaces that we currently operate out of. And so we're just looking to expand and provide as much access as possible to community people, because we want the people to come in. We want traffic. We want all of that. We want to see people just like they do in Merchandise Smart. Go in Merchandise Smart to sit and use a computer, talk to somebody, eat a lunch, or have a little something, a workshop. We want to do that for Austin and the West Side in general. So you don't have to worry about that part, because that's something that's very much on our radar.
Especially if you become an Aspire Center ambassador. See, I'm gonna promote, I'm recruiting Aspire Center ambassadors. That's
right.
one of the greatest ways to make sure that this center continues to serve the intended population, because if that population is actually serving as ambassadors, who you gonna recruit to?
See somebody walking in the street, like, I don't know what to do, but you can go to the Aspire Center. I think they can help you out.
Alright, so we want to, we gotta make sure our meeting keeps rolling. We do have an officer here now so that we can do the public comment section. So Darnell will be here, so you can have sidebars if you like, but we have one more thing that we have to do, and then we'll turn it over so you all can have conversation. In the meantime, that food is already ready. So if you would like to get something to eat, y'all can start doing that as well. So in our meetings, what we do is we highlight individuals from the community that have made an impact in public safety and or police accountability. And we call this our Living Legacy or Legacy Honors Award. And so for the purposes of the work that organizations like Austin Coming Together and Darnell in particular have done, we wanted to honor him in this particular meeting with our Living Legacy or Living Legacy Honors Award. And so Ray will leave a little bit about his background for y'all.
Yes, so in 2010, Darnell joined ACT as a volunteer, helping the organization improve its technology and business operations. It wasn't long after that he was offered a full-time position, moving him from the IT to Director of Operations. And in 2016, the board nominated him to become the Executive Director of Austin Coming Together. Throughout his time at ACT, Darnell has been able to galvanize hundreds of organizations and community leaders to take Austin's challenge with passion and commitment. In 2022, ACT was named the Nonprofit of the Year by the Young Nonprofit Professionals Network of Chicago. And as a result, ACT's excellence, accomplishments, leadership, and community impact.
All right.
Sir, so the Living Legacy Award, right? The greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. So this is a certificate of appreciation and grateful recognition of your community service and dedication. We present Darnell Shields with this certificate of recognition for his service, leadership, and commitment on behalf of the 15th Police District Council.
Okay.
Oh, wait, listen.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you. He got signed. What you got signed?
All right,
We didn't
all
realize
right.
that. Sorry.
Wow.
At this time, I want to say a couple things. I want to thank Darnell for his great presentation. And I gotta shine a little bit about Northwest Austin Council, because he made me remember that he was a member of the Northwest Austin Council when he was a teenager. We had a program called Youth with a Voice. And he said, Steve, I remember you were the youngest member of the organization. I'm like, I don't quite remember you, because I was probably 25, 26, and you had to be 14, 15, 16. So nevertheless, he got his roots in his brain, started in NAC, and he's doing greater and better things. We enjoy knowing that. Also, one thing you said I gotta make a comment on. What about ex-offenders? I'm gonna just say this. With the political landscape as it is on the federal level going forward, ain't nobody should be questioning about a background. Other than those that work with children. Other than those that work with children. Seriously.
Hey, but Steve, you know that don't work for us, brother.
Well, we don't have the FUBU.
That's why it's
Munoz. Yes.
He had his hand up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll catch him before he leaves. And I was, yeah, I'll just read it to you. It was good. It's just, well, I'll just say.
Go ahead.
So, I work for Breakthrough Urban Ministries. I've been there for 16 years. We actually started for a party. We built a $6 million building, not 40, but $6 million building. One of the things that has been relatively tough, because we had some, mind to serve the people that we're serving. What's been tough is to keep the community from becoming gentrified. And so we're working on some other things. We're building a 14-unit housing in that space. But my question was, how do we, when you build things like this, it's almost like the Field of Dreams. When you build it, they will come. And what does that look like? We're already working through our new neighbors, migrant situation. What does this look like? And we may not have an answer to it, but at least are we thinking about it?
You know what I'm gonna have to say to that, Tony? It's gonna take people like you. It's gonna take people like Pastor Whitfield. Take people like Jim. People like me. I'm a direct, I want to say, person that was affected. I graduated from Emmett 45 years ago. I taught advanced manufacturing classes for over 5-6 years for Daly College. I worked in engineering and manufacturing for over 30-some years. So it's going to take people like us to push those initiatives, to be ambassadors, to get this to be what we want and what we want to keep it grounded and rooted with. And we can do that. We got Westside Health Store, Morris Reed, Jackie and his mom. They've been doing their thing for years. I'm about to put another plug in. They also had a collaborative effort way back when with NAC, when Miss Spann was started. I still got minutes with your mama and Miss Spann talking in a meeting when she joined you guys' board. So it takes us, like you said, FUBU, for us, by us, whoever us may mean, which I'm meaning those that are in this room. So at this time, we're going to kind of conclude. We're going to talk a little bit about the criminal activity that's been going on in the community, and maybe Officer Munoz could come up and talk a little bit about it and answer some questions, if you don't mind. Thank you. 15th District Police Officer Jorge Munoz.
Hello there.
Jorge Munoz here. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you. I was very, very impressed by your presentation, and I'm very, very impressed by everyone here who I've known for several years. And as you all were talking, I was like, wow, look at this, Austin community right here. You all are from the Austin community, Shakers and movers. Great job, keep it up. I'm very proud of you all. Thank you for the invitation once again. Commander Morse and Sergeant Brown, they send their greetings. They apologize for not being able to be here. Please give them a call. Sergeant Brown asked me to relay this to you all. Please give them a call. Call them. If you don't have the number, I can give you the number for Sergeant Brown. If you want to grab it to the office number, and I'll give you the number for the commander's office. Whenever you're ready, let me know. Sergeant Brown, it's going to be 312-743-1495. 312-743-1495. Commander's office is going to be 312-743-1310. 312-743-1310. Any questions that you all have for me that I might be able to answer? Just to inform you all.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
No, question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I am the Troubled Buildings Officer. I handle the residential problem buildings. Anything to do with residential. My partner that I work with is Officer Edward Whitaker. He multitasks. One of his tasks is he's the business liaison officer. He handles businesses, anything to do with businesses. So together we help each other out.
There's a trend of carjackings that's on the rise. Is there anything specific that you can tell us to look out for? Because I understand, I heard someone talking earlier, Lockwood and other cross streets, but Lockwood and other cross streets, Lockwood and other cross streets. So there's a trend of, that time of day, something of that nature that you can put on our radar.
Okay. My specifics are very, very minimal, but I'm going to give you what my observations are, what I know. But to get more in-depth information, I want you to reach out to Sergeant Brown or Commander Morse. Basically, it happens at various times of the day and night. Okay, there are some clusters of times, cluster of days, but primarily for you all, what I want you to be aware is and be cognizant. Always be, maintain yourself, maintain your awareness of your surroundings. Okay, limit your time in what I've heard other people call transitional spaces. For example, in your car. Try to get in and out of your car quickly. Before you get into your car, look around, see what's going on, see who's looking, see which kind of cars are, moving around, how many people are in the vehicle, who's giving you their attention. Okay, you all remember Commander Cato? Yes. I heard this from him, and I was like, I like that. I'm going to use that. don't allow your environment, don't allow people to be invisible. Acknowledge them, greet them, say hello to them, look in the eyes, and let them know, hey, I see you, I'm going to acknowledge you. Hello there, good evening or good afternoon, hi, like that they know, oh, okay, this person, I'm gonna move, you know, if they were thinking of doing something bad, they said, okay, this person will not make a good victim, because they're not on their phone, they're not distracted, you know, they're not pretending that they don't see me, they're paying attention. So another thing, vehicles. One of the things, my observations, if you own a nice car, or even if you don't own a nice car, I've noticed, my personal observation is that individuals who take vehicles, they steal them or they carjack them, most of the time their windows are completely tinted. And they like to target those vehicles because once they're in, they can hide behind you know, the tinted windows. So I noticed
with the victim inside, you're saying?
Well, you know, either or. You know, sometimes they target the vehicles that are parked. They figure out a way to get in, and they take them, and then they do their business. If they take an occupied vehicle, then for the same purposes, once they get into the vehicle, they are, you know, you can't capture them with a photo or with video, so they hide inside the vehicle. So if you do have a vehicle that's all tinted windows, more reason to pay attention to watch who might be in the area, who might be getting ready to target you.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Well, I just want to say, I did talk to Sergeant Brown just before this meeting. He called while I was here. And I did receive some information from some people in the community about where they pretty much know where a lot of this activity is coming from. And I will be sharing that with the sergeant tomorrow, and of course you, Officer Munoz.
Well, thank you.
And hopefully we can get ahead of this and put a stop to it. Like I said, it's been a rash of carjackings just in one square, 4 blocks of here, pretty much. And I was told that the TAC teams were being deployed at various times to try to meet the assailants before they acted. So that being said, hopefully we can get to the bottom of this and stop all this. You have one thing?
Yeah. Good evening, Officer Munoz. You say you handle the troubled buildings?
Yes.
Okay, I got one for you. After the meeting.
Okay. Oh, here, I'm gonna give you my phone number. I'm gonna give you my police cell phone number. So you and I, so we can communicate. Okay, if it's an emergency, please call 911. I'm not on all the time. I don't work. You know, sometimes I get, you know, I have training or I'm off or my schedule differs, so it's not always the same. But the number is 312-459-7315. 312-459-7315. You know how to get a hold of me? Would you like to talk afterwards, or would you like to talk about this at another time?
All right. Well, let me just say one thing. This is why we started the 40 blocks initiative down here in the South Austin area. It's important that these block clubs, it's important that we build these relationships. It's important that we keep the lines of communications open. If it wasn't for that 40 blocks, I know for a fact one of the block club leaders reported one of the carjackings. She saw it as it was transpired in front of her. So it's important. Let's keep these block clubs initiatives going. So far, we've created about 13 block club leaders down in the 40 blocks right here. The goal was to get at least 15, but I miscalculated because the blocks down here are like a month of Sundays long. So I don't know how you're gonna have, you can only have one block club leader with a 4 block long, but I miscalculated 13 we're gonna work with and try to increase it. But we really do need that collaborative effort. And I appreciate those leaders that are here today, Tony, Cassandra, my man James, my man Mr. Murray, and Jim, you're gonna be one too. And Arnold, I forgot Arnold, yeah.
Is there anything else that's happening in the community that you all would like to share? We know the robberies are up in the area. Anything else?
So, yeah, I'm gonna stand up for this one. So, some of us have permit parking. And I know this is kind of raised, but, you know, there's a couple of concerns. Our particular block borders Central. So Central's gonna close until April because of the snow. And I recognize, you know, in talking to Taylor Farrell, that people have to have somewhere to park. We don't do dibs on our block, we help each other. But we've had situations where people, one, they don't have a permit, and two, they don't even have a sticker on their car, would park, disappear for a couple weeks. We call that in, we do all the due diligence, and even dig dibs when, you know, to bring their car back. And so, it seems like a fruitless situation that, you know, in terms of getting cars off of our block. My block is about 70% seniors, and so for safety reasons, they don't park in the garage, they park in the front. And with that being said, you know, if they're not disabled, they don't have the handicap space, so they need their spot as much as possible, plus we pay for the permit. And so, in paying for that permit, there's an expectation that, you know, you're not competing with, you know, all the blocks around. So, I was told to call the police, 911, and ask for a police officer to come out. On October 30th, police came, they pretty much told me, we are not gonna write tickets for all these cars. It's a little busy, and a truck has been on our block since then. They just moved it 3 days ago off the block. And so the thing is, it has to be enforced in order, because if people are paying for the permit to park on their block, it has to be enforced. How do we get the police to enforce it?
You call for a supervisor, that's what I would say, because anytime I call for the police, we also have permit parking. Not to take Officer Munoz's spotlight, but you have a fiduciary duty when you pay for that. You know, no, it's not about dibs. I have a person that rents a second floor across the street from a house that I own, and they have 8 cars collectively in one apartment. That's insane. We have 2 funeral homes on Long and Madison, Corbin and Pickett's, and I like them both. But however, they need to do something to accommodate the people so they're not scrambling for parks and allowing me to not have to, you know, park on my block. So that's my choice. My advice.
Go ahead, Officer Munoz.
I highly recommend that you, this type of matter, talk to Sergeant Brown, talk to Commander, and obviously, we, those of you all who took down my number, feel free to reach out to me. If you can catch me, and I'm not in the middle of something, I have a collection of ticket books, and I go out and I
Take it.
and I service.
I want to acknowledge, Munoz has come on the block and done that.
But Officer Munoz is not the only one working the district. What we want to do is we want to encourage other fellow officers to spend time taking enforcement action. And I don't have the authority to say, hey, you, issue citations. You know who has?
Yeah.
Sergeant Brown, Commander Morse. Yeah, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I was here, I'm going to relay the message. And I'm going to request that there's enforcement action taken on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say something real quick about that, because I went to a meeting maybe 2 months ago with Alderman Urban, and this same issue came up. It's coming up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But one thing they talked about was, and someone said that they said, you know, someone told us, you know, to call 911. And the issue with that is now you're tying up the emergency response number for parking violations or for parking issues. So the response time is already not great, and now it's getting, you know, backlogged with other non-emergency calls. And so I just mentioned to him, I said, this is one of the reasons why we're saying there should be alternatives. Like, that probably shouldn't even be a police officer's job to write tickets or to enforce parking. Like, we have to think about alternative things that can happen.
Well, the meter people that do
Code
street
enforcement.
cleaning, you know, that should be some form of referral then, if, you know, I don't know what to say, they have the authority to enforce code. The ticket meters have an authority to write tickets, maybe there's some form of collaboration that's needed, but the service should still be rendered.
So to both of my co-counselors' comments, we are actively, and when I say we, I still work for New York University, the policing project. We are now evolving our project to look at alternative police responses. And so one of our district council colleagues to the north, they have actually looked at 80,000 pieces of data to show exactly what calls are coming into 911 for their particular district. And as we learn from them what they're doing, we would like to probably bring something like that down here too. So that as we go and approach the city about alternative responses, whether we having our meter maids do it, whether, you know, we have some other entity do it, it will help us to free up so that officers could actually respond to emergency situations versus not. So that is something that is currently in the works, not only in the city of Chicago, but also what we're concerned with in New York with the policing project as well.
Right.
So we are looking at it, yeah.
Okay. So at this time, I would like to just say a couple things. It's most important again that we keep building this 40 block Network of Neighbors initiative, this reset initiative, because we should start now with our phone trees. We really do need to start with our phone trees again. And we'll do a training on that to make sure everybody understands how the phone tree works, so that everyone can be in the loop and be our own advocates when it comes to crime. Because, you know, again, crime is everybody's business, and we got to be a part of it. At this time, I want to adjourn the meeting. If you guys want to formally do that.
Yeah, we have to formally.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, I want to thank you. Everyone that's a veteran, can you raise your hand, please? I see you with your caps on. Let us give them a round of applause. We realize that freedom isn't free, and we have our freedom because you have served. So we're now here to serve you. That being stated, at our dinner in December, you will be acknowledged. So therefore, by all means, make sure that you come on 10:10. 12:10.
12:10.
All right.
Yeah. So we have, yeah. Wait a minute.
12. Thank you.
All right, so we have no votes to take. And the last thing that we have is just the announcement of our regular meeting, our next regular meeting. It is 12/12. It will be at St. Kofa, that is 5820 West Chicago Avenue. It'll go from 5 to 10. We'll handle our district council business first, bless you. And then we'll have a celebration, our holiday party. We had to push it back from 11/11, where it was almost an appreciation for you all as well as the community. But we've moved it, and it's 12/12, and it'll coincide with our next meeting. So for you veterans in the room, please come out. We'd like to see you all. We want to celebrate you all. And for the rest of the community that is here, please come out as well. That meeting as well as that event is for you and for sitting through these meetings with us throughout the year. So we really appreciate you. That stated, our meeting is adjourned. I motion to close up.
Closing prayer.
Oh, okay. Would you like to pray us out, Pastor?
Pastor Whitfield.
Pastor Whitfield, sorry.
And thank you for hosting this meeting.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Let us pray. God of heaven, we say thank you for what our eyes have seen tonight, for what our ears have heard. We thank you for all this representation that's gathered here on tonight. God, we thank you in the name of Jesus, not just for what you've been doing, for what we believe is going to happen. We pray that as we go down from this place, that you continue to allow us to come together, that we might be impactful, that we might continue to make a difference in our communities. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Dr. Rudis?
1 second.
Oh yeah,
Make that motion.
Oh yeah. Oh okay, cool. So yeah, I motion to end our meeting at 7:51.
Second. It has been motioned by Councilor Rudis, second by Councilor Winters to adjourn our meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.